From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, October the 19th, 2020. We open with Israel and Bahrain, who have now formally declared diplomatic relations. A joint U.S.-Israeli delegation departed Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport and arrived in Bahrain yesterday aboard El Al Flight 973, which is Bahrain's country code, the first ever nonstop passenger flight from Israel to the Gulf Kingdom. Israel's National Security Advisor Meir Ben-Shabbat led the Israeli team, and U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin led the American team. They were greeted at Bahrain's international airport by its foreign minister, Abdulatif bin Rashid Al Zayani, who welcomed the joint delegations and extended his hopes for the future.
It is my pleasure to welcome to the Kingdom of Bahrain the delegations from the United States of America and the State of Israel. Secretary Mnuchin, Mr. Ben-Shabbat, Mr. Avi Berkowitz, ahlan wa sahlan. And we do so with the optimism that such a peace will bring a new stability and prosperity to the region, allowing our young people across the Middle East to achieve the potential and aspirations which they have been denied for too long.
Mnuchin addressed the ceremony on the tarmac on what he called a very, very important occasion.
It was incredible experiencing the first commercial flight coming from Israel to Bahrain, and I know we look forward to many more trips in both directions.
As did Ben-Shabbat, who first spoke in Arabic, saying that Israel extends its hands for genuine peace with the Bahraini people. Together, he said, we will change the reality in the region for the benefit of our nations. The teams then attended a signing ceremony in Manama of what is being called a joint communique on the establishment of diplomatic, peaceful, and friendly relations, agreeing to recognize and respect each other's sovereignty and right to live in peace and security, promote lasting security, and eschew the threat and use of force, and settle all disputes by agreed peaceful means. They also signed 8 memorandums of understanding relating to the fields of science and technology, trade, energy, agriculture, among other areas of cooperation. The signing of the agreements, of course, follows the signing of the Abraham Accords last month in Washington. Well, Jewish organizations welcomed the formal signing of the agreements with Bahrain today. CEO of the American Jewish Committee, David Harris, tweeted, "What was once a distant dream has become a pulsating reality." And a U.S. delegation, he wrote, is present, attesting to the central U.S. role. Peace, salam, shalom. B'nai B'rith International tweeted, "This is a crucial accomplishment for a mutually beneficial Israel-Bahrain relationship and a huge step for Middle East peace." The leaders of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, Arthur Stark, William Daroff, and Malcolm Hoenlein, wrote, "The possibility of real and lasting peace between the Jewish state and its Arab and Muslim neighbors is at hand. With the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain embracing Israel in recent months, a new chapter has begun for the region in which cooperation is chosen over conflict. We hope," they wrote, "to see more countries join in the peaceful coexistence that will define the future of the Middle East." And reports today that Sudan could be the next country to normalize ties with Israel. Israel's Channel 12, citing sources in Sudan, said the U.S. is considering removing the Northeast African country from the terror blacklist, which could open the door for such a move. Senior Palestinian official Saeb Erekat is being treated in Israel for coronavirus. The Palestinians' chief negotiator and top aide to Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, who has lung and heart issues, is in critical condition after being diagnosed with the virus earlier this month, initially only suffering mild symptoms. His condition, though, took a turn for the worse, and yesterday the Palestinian Authority turned to Israel for help. And according to Israel's Channel 12 News, Magen David Adom paramedics escorted by IDF soldiers arrived at Erekat's home in the West Bank yesterday and transported him to Hadassah Hospital in Kerem in Jerusalem, where he is now receiving care. Jewish organizations are expressing outrage over an op-ed in the New York Times that references Louis Farrakhan's positive spearheading of the Million Man March in 1995, while completely ignoring his known history of anti-Semitism. Former editor and writer for the New York Times editorial page, Barry Weiss, tweeted about the opinion piece and wrote, "If you read the op-ed and knew nothing about Farrakhan, you would think he was a gentleman." The American Jewish Committee thanked Weiss for sharing the piece and calling out this shocking op-ed they wrote. They tweeted, "Louis Farrakhan is a vile anti-Semite and racist who preaches vitriol and hatred. His bigoted views must not be glossed over or mainstreamed." CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, tweeted that he was stunned that the New York Times ran a piece describing Farrakhan in such glowing terms, ignoring his history of hate and anti-Semitism. Even in discussing women's unsung role in the Million Man March, Greenblatt tweeted, failing to mention the serial bigotry of its organizer normalizes it. And with the signing with Bahrain yesterday and the approval in Israel's Knesset of the agreement between Israel and the United Arab Emirates this past Thursday, the city of Jerusalem and the UAE Israel Business Council marked the historic moment with 3 children in the city, each draped in the flags of Israel, the Emirates, and Bahrain on the roof of the King David Hotel overlooking the Old City. The city's deputy mayor and co-founder of the council, Fleur Hassan Nahum, said the Abraham Accords were reached not only for us, but more importantly for our children. It's about creating a new Middle East for their future, one in which they can thrive. And we felt it was important that they be included in this historic moment. Hassan Nahum added that Jerusalem is significant to both Islam and Judaism, and with this photo, we cordially invite our friends from the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain to come and visit our beloved city. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Monday, October the 19th. At 7 o'clock, it's The Wisdom of Dr. Ruth. At 7:15, The Jewish Story Explained. Learn about the first 3 kings of Israel, Saul, David, and Solomon, in a series of Open Door Media. At 7:30, Rabbi Nina Beth Cardin and Sister Kathleen Dienan discuss the Jewish and Catholic views of humanity's relationship to the earth. At 9, Mark Golub speaks with Alan Dershowitz, who explains why he disagrees with Nazi comparisons to Trump and offers his opinion on many of these social issues raised by the Senate hearings on Amy Coney Barrett's Supreme Court nomination. At 10, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs shares his feelings that people need to find meaning in life. And then coming up next, it's Good Week Israel. And that's the JBS News Update for Monday, October the 19th, 2020. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy, stay well.